nothing. So I think if we look into that context, Nigerians are quite productive and have been creating their own jobs for long, for as long as you can remember. And also, on to the other part, the question of consumption, I do not think there is a reason to disjoint production and because consumption is also part of productive activity. I mean, how do you produce and there's no one to consume? It is the reason today, the fact that Nigeria is also a very big consuming market is also, I think it's also a credit to what makes us as a people. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Kate.
Yeah, as we all know, we have our guest there. I told you guys earlier that we have our guest. I nearly said His Excellency. You're correct. Yes, His Excellency. Yeah. He's a member of KFS. He has supported us, yes. I remember when we started coffee hangout in Abuja. When I reached out to him, he never said no. He said, hey, I want the coffee hangout. He's been with us in Abuja, now he's in Lagos. House, let's kindly stand up and welcome Mr. Sowore.
Wow.
Welcome, sir. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the coffee hangout. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Thank you, sir. So,
It's fine.
yeah, that's what you can do. One of the largest community of youth in Africa. About 7,000 members, 8,000 now. But we sincerely want to appreciate you for coming here. We're not taking this for granted. Thanks so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. You're a member of the community.
Yes.
And I said, we don't filter what says, sir.
Yeah.
I said, they can ask whatever question you want to ask. Please, if he's spending just 40 minutes with us, if you have any question you want to ask me somewhere you look for it, please kindly signify by using of your hand. One, we have one. We have two. We have three. We have four. We have 5, 6. Okay, first person, please. Hello. Good evening.
My name is Tosin, and I've been a fan of Sowore, and I want to ask this question.
Thank you. So, second person, please. Okay, please.
So my question is, personally, I look at you as, I think you as an activist, and I believe that maybe you are the Mandela of Nigeria. But what's the strategy to transition from being an activist to a full-time politician? Because you need the numbers, whether you like it or not. You've not been having the numbers for the most part, severally. So you need that number. So how do you intend to transition from the activist that you are to being a true politician?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to meet you.
No, please, no video, please. Outside the media team. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here with the Lagos Student Movement together in Abuja. And it's always been my honor to appear before you. You said there are about 7,000 of you, that's larger than any political party in Nigeria. And I'm serious, most of the political parties in Nigeria don't have members. They just have banners and offices because they're transactional in nature. So the first question someone asked me is rigidity. And I would answer that Nigeria is facing very rigid problems, very rigid leaders, very wickedly rigid climates, very difficult situations. And the only way we can solve Nigeria's problem is to approach it with the level of rigidity that it deserves. The reason why we haven't had the Nigeria of our dream is that we haven't dealt with Nigeria the way Nigeria has dealt with us. That's the problem. If we have taken Nigeria's problem the way South Africans took apartheid, by now we would have ended our own apartheid. Because practically this is an apartheid nation where people are discriminated against, where you cannot even live and be happy anywhere you want. You can't find a job that you're trusting that can be there for as long as you want it. You work, you can't be paid what can make you survive. You don't have a future. That's a rigid situation. Nigeria is practically, I say this anywhere, is an open prison. Yeah, it's just different categories of prisoners. Some of them, they are free to move around. People like me, not always free. But we're all in the prison, whether you like it or not. So, and that ties into the second question about transitioning to a politician. It's a very interesting question because the understanding that most Nigerians have of a politician is a person who can lie. Yes. You know, a person who is deceptive, a person who is a thief, a criminal, somebody who is a murderer. That's what a Nigerian says when they tell you you are not a real politician. You are the guy who is not driving a car you can't afford. You are not a real politician. You are the guy who doesn't walk around with security that kill people before they get to your destination. You are not a real politician. You are the guy who cares about people. That is not how politicians behave. So I actually don't like the title of politician because it looks as if it's a name attached to a person who is dishonest, wicked, very, who don't care about things. So I do not, honestly, and I want to say this, I do not intend to transition to anybody else but myself. And the transition that people are asking for is the transition that made Nigeria into the country that it is today. The politicians are the people who made you poor. The politicians are the ones who stole what belonged to you and turned you into strangers in your country. The politicians are the ones who have no ideas other than to steal, loot, and destroy. The politicians are the ones who you vote for, promise that they'll give you a hospital, but when they are sick, they don't have an hospital that they can go to in their own country. The politician is the person who dies in London but has to be buried in Nigeria. And then you have to lower the flag for his burial. But he did not raise the flag for a hospital where anybody can be treated. That is a politician. And it's not the kind of thing I will promise you I want to transition to. What I think we all need to transition to is to transition honestly to where I am. Yes. Be real. Be honest, be direct, confront the problems as they are afflicting you, be courageous, be unafraid, and don't be a slave in your country. That is transition. The transition we need, for me, is for those of you who want to see politicians, for all of us to meet in the middle, so that we can play the politics of development and not the retrogressive politics that we know of. So that is my own answer to the real politician you want. Maybe then we'll define politics as people who actually do go to work for their country. Then you can call me a politician. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sorry. The next person, please. Next question. Number 3. Okay, number 3 is number 3. Number 4. Where is number 3, please? Okay. Number 3. Okay, stand up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
I wanted to ask, what exactly motivated you to, contest for the Nigerian police? The same people who treated you quite bad do all sort of things while you were really campaigning, when you were quite in prison then, and then trying to, make life quite difficult for you. So what really motivated you?
Well, a lot of people think I'm not religious, but I think that's the religious part of me. I'm very forgiving. But in all honesty, the police that you described, the one that used to be mean to people, are the police we created for ourselves. If you have ever been to a police barrack, you cannot expect a human being to come out of the place. A person who is dehumanized at his job will dehumanize you when you have to relate with him. They have become animals. That's the truth. And the first reason why police are like that is because the society has also started to treat them like animals. So they are human beings too. They are part of you. They are part of the civil populace. The police is the person who wakes up to think about your security and safety. Is the person who, when you go to bed, is awake. But then, his children cannot go to the school your children are going to. He doesn't have an hospital that he can go to when he's sick. He doesn't have a salary that can be called a salary. Yeah. Then, on top of that, he doesn't have a retirement that he can say is a gratuity or pension. Now, you can blame them that they are the ones who are protecting the people who made their life miserable. But it is no fault of theirs, because the Nigeria police you have today was created by the British. At the point, they changed names over 5 times. There's a time they used to call them the Casina Constabulary. It was the Northern Nigeria Police. But when we amalgamated, they started calling them Nigeria Police Force. And the reason force there is exactly the way they are behaving. They are expected to force you to do whatever they want, and whomever is in charge of the police. But now, let's think about the human side of it. What about we start thinking about reforming the police, but you don't put a uniform on them, you don't pay them well? How can you reform police like that? It's impossible. So any reasonable person who is thinking security, which is our #1 problem right now, cannot ignore the largest security agency in the country, which is the police force. The police force has over 210,000 members. It's bigger than the army. The army is about 150. So, if you think security and you want to go to sleep and be happy and be safe, and you want to send your children to school the next day, and you know that they'll come back home to you, daddy and mommy, you need to have a sit down and discuss how to fix the police force. That was what drove me to go and support them. As I was doing the protest, they stole my glasses. Yes. Because they are still thieves. Yes. They didn't return. But even since then, I've been back to help them. Over 35,000 of them was promoted last week alone, based on the protest. Yes. Even the pension have been increased by about 5,000, but nothing substantial. So it shows that when you are rigid, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yes.
So my question is this: you've been doing a very good job. So my question is, if you become our next president of the election, how do you intend to work with all those people that you fought with against corruption? Nigeria is actually, I don't really understand my question. Like, how do you intend to work with? Because I know if you are elected, all your maybe governorship, all those governors, they cannot.
They will not all come from the
same. So, how do you intend to work with all these our?
Well, fantastic. If I can work with the police, I can definitely work with anybody. But the important thing is that the democracy we adopted as our own measure of electing people into power says that the people are paramount. The president is #1 person who's in charge of Nigeria. And when people elect their leaders, whether they are thieves, corrupt, or not, we all have to work together. We don't have an option. But our primary duty is to work for the people. Yes, that's the primary duty of even the biggest team in government. That is the assignment that was given to them. That's the mandate they stand on. When you hear them shouting on your mandate, you can stand. They changed that mandate around. They're no longer the mandate of the people, but for one person. And that's why we're in this mess that we are today. So, as the president of the country, you are the chief motivator of the country. You are the chief accountant of the country. You are the chief human resources officer of the country. You are also the chief whip of the country. Who's the chief whip? The person who whips everybody in line. You can relate with the government and say, look, this is what we are supposed to do. And we'll go ahead and do it. You can relate with the judiciary and say, this is your role. I will ensure as the executor of all this role to make sure you carry out your roles. I, for instance, more than anybody else here, have to deal with all these layers of government. The legislative arm, they make laws that put me in jail all the time. So the executive, the police is the executive. The judiciary, I go to judges almost on the regular. Even when I don't have a court case, I go to court to help other people to get out of jail. So I understand their strengths and weaknesses. And I understand that if you are the rightful president doing the right thing in this country, you will be surprised how the righteousness will affect everybody. It is when they know that that number one president is a crook, everybody will become crooked. That is why when an average Nigerian steps out of this country, he can be doing red lights. The moment he understands that where he's going, they don't do red lights. Nobody needs to, he doesn't need a crash course. He will start, behaving accordingly. So that is the reason it wouldn't be a problem. Because if I were to present a budget, I go to the National Assembly and present the budget. If they ask me to come and bribe them, I'll tell the people, but they ask me a bribe. Can we donate money to bribe? And the question is, everybody which is interested about Nigeria, no matter how Nigerians think the government, they are looking for what the government is doing right, that they can be part of. It is what made a lot of Nigerians come back from the diaspora. If they can find a flicker of hope that the government wants to do something and they can help to expand that space, they'll come in there. But I haven't seen anything the Tinubu regime is doing right, except for himself and his family. You know, he has a very unique presidency. There's a president, first lady, there's a first son, there's a first daughter, and he has the office to the in-law of the president. Yeah. The guy who's in charge of federal housing of council. So all of them are fixed. So they're doing well. But for our people, I don't know how to rate what is unrateable. There's a word like that.
Okay. Yeah. Next person, please. Okay.
Fine. Thank you. So my question is, what is
Next person, please.
Mine is actually one of the questions and one of the suggestion. First, I want to understand what AAC stands for as a party, and what is the membership like? Because it looks as if all political parties is like a port group. You cannot just get into it, but you have to know somebody inside to bring you in and all of that. And if you find out APC, PDP, you mostly find thugs, people who are actually scared to be able to know for an average Nigerian like me. So we want to know what AAC is all about. Secondly, the suggestion I would like to make is this. I believe a lot of people criticize you on social media have not had the opportunity to meet you one-on-one or be underneath your lectures or speeches, and they kind of misinterpret whatever you're trying to drive at. And I think I've been following you for over 16 years. So I recall that when Adiola Afayin was still running the face and all of that. But I found out that you were SUG president during the military era.
University of Lagos.
University of Lagos. And you had this boldness to be able to even confront the military. I don't see any politician, coming close towards that, actually during a military regime. Now, they are referring you back that you're just an SUG president. I would suggest you show them the powers of studentship. Because I know way back, students had a lot of powers. They could shut down the entire country if they want to. I feel you should have something like a serial tour around federal universities around the country, maybe a face-off with Sowore, whereby people can gather, talk to you, relate with you, and then you can show them the procedures of how to even belong to the party itself. Let it be easy for young people, intellectuals, to be able to be part of it and have constant, communication with you and with, general public. You are the master of media. There's nobody that can beat you towards that. I could still remember your interview with, I think in Oyo State, one of the radio stations, where you told them that at some point all of this mainstream media will fade off, and it's actually fading off. So that's my two.
Thank you very much. So with regards to your question about the Electoral Act, you must understand the Electoral Act is not something that I would wait to sign. For every electoral season, they either upgrade the Electoral Act or they will introduce a new one. So basically, the Electoral Acts don't make elections. Because even in making the Electoral Acts, they have inserted in it all the loopholes that will make it impossible to have free and fair elections. So you can sign the best Electoral Acts in the world. The people who are going to conduct the elections, they are the ones you need to sign first and put them in order. The issue is not the act, because the act is also subject to interpretation by the judiciary. For instance, the Electoral Act in the last election says all election results must be transmitted electronically as soon as the elections are conducted. No, I understand you want to. Oh, okay, you are talking about the reform. I thought you mentioned the word act, which is a law that governs every election season. But in terms of electoral reform also, it is almost going to be impossible. And I'm saying it here for those of you who are very great wishful thinkers. It's almost going to be impossible to reform the electoral system by way of a law. I am saying it and breaking it down to you. If we are going to change the next election, it has to be clear to the organizers of the election that if the elections are not done in the interest of the people, somebody will have to account for it in a way that they don't expect. It has to almost be like Nigerians going to war for us to have free and fair elections. The reason is simple. All the people in INEC who are national commissioners were selected by Tinubu recently, including the guy who used to be the electoral commissioner of the state electoral commission in Lagos. He's now a national commissioner. The one that is there now just finished rigging the local government election. So you can imagine the one who has already practiced and is very good at it at the national level. If there was somebody that was recently appointed as the chairman of APC, he used to be a state electoral commissioner. That's the reason they appointed him, because he becomes the connection to these electoral commissioners. Then Tinubu will have a chance to choose a new INEC chairman, by the way, by December. And in another 2 years, that person will conduct the election, and you expect Tinubu to lose the election. Yeah. And he's going to also appoint, already appointed state electoral commissioners. And most of these guys are openly APC card carrying members. And for those of you who may not know, he appointed 11 Supreme Court justices in 2003. You need 7 judges to decide on an election matter. He has 11. So I am not trying to overwhelm you, but this is the reason why I'm rigid. That this next one, we can have free and fair elections. We determine if we want not the acts. It is our own acting that will let them know that this election went playing. But if you want to wait for them to organize this election for you, that will bring in a new, different candidate from the one they chose, well, I have an echo bridge to sell to you. Yes, great suggestion, by the way. Thank you so much, and we would love to get your contact. The political party AAC actually is the first digital party established in 2018 in Nigeria. But they saw the future of the party, and as soon as the elections were over in 2019, the party was hijacked. And it took us 3 years in the Court of Appeal to get the party back in 2022, and then participated in the election in 2023. The party has an open portal where you can register. You don't need to know anybody in the AAC to register. You must have heard recently, even within our adversaries, that the only party they cannot hijack is AAC. The other parties, they have back-end loopholes and front-end activities. You know, in Nigeria, this is the only country where you can go to bed as APC and wake up as PDP. And now ADC, actually. And they now have a situation where you can join the party without leaving your former party. But that's what the transfer windows are about. But AAC is completely an open party. A lot of our members are here and leaders in Lagos State. And some of them just ran in our local government elections. We're badly rigged, that's why they're not looking happy. But we did what we had to do. So thank you for the suggestion. Okay.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I want to appreciate you for your contributions towards a better Nigeria. Following over the years, this is the first time I'm here. It's really a career. Two questions, please. The first one is, based on police reform that you've been talking about, right? So you're arguing that no police officers should earn below 500,000 a month, remember? Now, given our debt profile and economic situation in the country, how do you think Nigeria can source out those money? That's the first question. Then the second one is, you recently been criticizing leaders naming monumental Nigerian properties after themselves, right, due to insecurity and all that. So, what type of legacy should Nigerian leaders aim for them to be able to give names to those monumental after themselves? So that's the question.
Thank you. Okay, yeah.
All right. Afternoon, everybody. My name is James. Thanks for the opportunity. Getting somebody new, either you or anybody else, and getting the old guys out will be favorable to me because it's better because of what's happening in my state, Benue. You know, it's terrible.
Yes.
But the advice is in the country that we must deal with if we want to come into power. So I thought we Nigerians, we elect politicians, not leaders. Unfortunately, you have tribal issues, religious differences, not regional differences, and mindset and all that. What's your plan for collaboration? Because that's what you guys see the community.
Collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration.
Oh, collaboration. Yes. Yes. You asked about 500,000 naira to policemen. So do the math. There are 210,000 police people in Nigeria. 500,000 naira is how many dollars? Huh? What? 350. I don't even think it's 350. Yeah, it's around $250. And you're talking about a guy who has been serving in the police most probably for 20 years. Because an average policeman now is paid 140,000 naira, which is less than $100. I know where you are driving at, that maybe it will cause inflation. But let me tell you, what causes inflation in Nigeria has nothing to do with wages. Because I did a little bit of economics, and there are pools in inflation that some are driven by wages, some are driven by demand and supply. In Nigeria, it is driven by greed. Yes. And the reason I'm saying this scale of they call PENCOM, there is nobody at PENCOM, even their gateman, that is earning less than $1 million. The people managing police pensions are earning $1 million a month. The policeman who are managing his pension is earning 57,000 naira. He finishes his tenure after 35 years. His entire gratuity is less than, so let's break it down this way. The monthly salary of a senator, take home of a senator, will pay the gratuity of 15 policemen after they are done for 35 years. Let's start from there. That because for me, it's not just the numbers and comparing and contrasting whether it will cause inflation or not, is that there's a human being who is working, and there's no one of us here. I look at your faces. That probably buy less than 50,000 naira worth of internet credit, or data as we call it. So, if you're a policeman and you can't even step out of your house without security, you have to send your children to school. It's this same policeman that we hate, that we go to, even when they snatch our phone. We'll still go and write police report. If you want to leave this country today, as bad as the police is, you have to get a police report. Same Nigeria police. So the conversation is about humanity. I'm not looking at the number, but I know Nigeria enough to know that we can afford to pay our workers 500,000 naira. I'm even ashamed to be suggesting that somebody who is working for a month should be paid 500,000 naira. When I know of our brothers and sisters who are working remotely from this country, who are earning $500 in a day. They are in this country, they are working remotely. There are jobs in this country even that is nothing special, that people are getting paid 5 million naira a month. And you don't have to protect anybody. You just live at 9, you're back at 5 and having fun. But the guy who doesn't sleep, we are arguing that 500,000 naira is too much for them. Just do the calculation. What is 500,000 naira? Yeah, you can divide that by the amount of money they just stole from the NNPC in repairing the refinery. You discover that one person can pay the police of Nigeria for 10 years at 500,000 naira. Yeah. What was the second question? Huh? What? Oh, the reason I didn't ask it is very controversial. If I'm president of Nigeria, I'll name all the monuments after plants and animals. Those ones are more helpful to us than all the former Nigerian leaders. I get depressed when I'm driving Abuja and my Google map is saying Buhari way. You know, Buhari should never, nothing should be named after Buhari or Babangida. You know, even Muritala Muhammad who killed people in the southeast. If you read the history of, if you read the story of Muritala Muhammad, he was one of the war soldiers. There was a small river between Asaba and Onisha. He lost about 1,000 soldiers there. How do you name an airport after such a person? You would have just called it the Roko International Airport. You know that that's a tree that helps us with carbon dioxide and oxygen. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We talked about
collaboration. Well, see, the collaboration that we need is what we're having here. Yes. Some of the collaboration that the big politicians talk about is collusion. It is how they can connive and work against you. For instance, what is supposed to be the biggest coalition in the country today is under the APC. But in all honesty, anybody who experienced Buhari 2 years ago and had to go and queue behind El-Rufai, I don't know what's wrong with you. Yeah. Or what's the guy who was Malami? So, I mean, except there's something, maybe we are genetically disposed to feeling. So anything that feels is attractive to us. So the collaboration we need is here.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
So let me make the last question. Yeah. Hold on, please. We have this 1 minute round.
At this point that I'm enjoying.
Yeah. So the last question. Yeah. So what are you like to talk about? P2B is loved by the people. Just the way you are loved by the youth. Yeah. Have you thought of collaborating with maybe form an alliance with P2B to kick away the
I know you bring up Peter Obey's question, and you know I'm always ready. I'm always ready for it.
Thank you, sir.
But even at this time, Peter Obey himself is confused about when he needs this question more than he needs the solution more than you do, because in all honesty, it is the reason why I'm always confident in my criticism of Nigerian politicians, because I know that you can't help them and they can't help themselves. You know, someone that you are portrayed as someone who knows what he's doing, to now find himself going back and forth, some days on the western side of politics. The other day he's on and the next day he's doing philanthropy, you know. I understand he has to do whatever he needs to do, but there are places you can't find him. You can't find me with armed robbers, even if they will help me win election. You can't find me with kidnappers, even if they will help me win election. You can find me with the police, and you can say some of them are armed robbers and kidnappers, but at least you know those ones are official security agencies. So the collaboration we need, he already has seen. The people who followed him for good or bad reasons the last time did for one simple reason that all of you always said, that he wants to retire the old politicians. So how did he find himself in a retirement camp again? Or the people he wanted to retire. The criminals he told you in 2023 he wanted to retire. He's now in a full embrace of those criminals. That shows to you that he was never part of you. That's where he belongs, and he's gone back there. Wish him well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. One house, please. Sir, we honestly want to thank you. Sincerely want to thank you for this. Thank you.